Let's move on to the second film. Now, I'm going to exchange Miles for Justin here.
Ooh, an exchange.
Justin is here.
Oh, shocked he did an exchange.
Give me a hug, brother.
Yo.
Oh, my brother.
My brother.
My.
Doesn't it ever wake you in the middle of the night? The feeling that someday they will pass that foolish law and come for you and your children. Take you all away. It does indeed.
Yeah, get in there, Justin.
Yeah.
Yo, it's Beast and Juggernaut right now.
All right. Who is who?
I'll let the viewers decide. What's up, Justin?
I feel more like
Just
kidding.
kidding. So now,
Yeah. What's up? Hey, by the way, I just want to say before things went kaput, thank you.
My favorite X-Men.
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for bringing your camera and helping out with the whole setup
yeah,
before
sure.
everything went, the way it did.
Sure, no problem.
No, you were doing great. I just want to say that on the record.
Fucker, just kidding.
Well, it's X-Men to X2.
X2.
X-Men United.
X2.
Honestly, I think this was my favorite film
Of the whole series?
of the whole series until rewatching the first one.
Okay, so
I actually have to attest.
So I
both-
have a little bit more opinion on this.
for both you guys, it's your favorite X-Men film, you'd say, of any of them.
To tell you the truth, it's the first X-Men film I was introduced to. My mom.
Interesting.
X2 was the first one you watched.
Yeah, my mom introduced me to X2.
I'd say that's better than me. My first one was the third one.
Oh God.
Angel.
It was the first movie of the X-Men that I've ever watched, and it just got me into it. I was just like, damn, is there more X-Men stuff? And then she showed me the whole thing. I was just like, damn,
Yeah.
this is great.
Well, this is obviously the sequel to the first film, and it kind of it deals with Wolverine primarily. This is a Wolverine movie for all intents and purposes, where it delves more into his origin. You go to Weapon X at Alkali Lake. You see a lot more mutants that people have been wanting to see. A lot of mutants that are kind of out there, like Nightcrawler.
My boy,
Nightcrawler is the one that's like
my
you see
favorite
him.
Christian mutant.
Is he Christian or
He is
Catholic?
Christian.
He's Christian.
He is.
Yeah, he's Christian.
Well, I was very happy that they still kind of retain that in a very classy way.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's a cool little reference to for people who watch the show. It's like, oh look,
Yeah, well, the movie is kind of about faith in the face of cynicism almost, because you have the government coming in, rounding up the mutants. It's kind of the beginning of what Magneto was warning about in the first film.
That whole house scene with taking over the kids
and
then saving as much as possible. That's a great scene.
Yeah. Dude, that's the first. I noticed on this first time rewatching, that's the first time between the first film and this film that we saw Wolverine kill people. That's the first time. Like, we see him stab fools and everything. Because the first movie they're testing the waters and everything. It's kind of, in the way of violence, it's a little bit like the 90s show where Wolverine would grab the claws and everything, and then he's about to charge someone, he's about to claw at someone, but then he just puts them away and punches people and everything. That's him in the first film. In this film, dude, the scene where he's going after the military guys and everything. God, what did you think about that scene when you first saw it?
To tell you the truth, I was like Iceman. When he saw that when his reaction to Wolverine.
You're hiding under the table.
He was just like, oh, fuck! I didn't know this guy was a murderer.
I liked it a lot. I think that was the first for me growing up as a kid, because I watched this one before I saw I think I saw this one when it came out in theaters. I think, So watching this was kind of like, oh, Wow, that's awesome. And then now as an adult really understanding it, it's like, oh, cool. That's like the first, for me as a kid growing up, like before even reading about the Punisher, before reading about Deadpool, it's definitely cool to see a hero actually like murder and wreck fools in a way that you felt like you've never wanted prior.
And now you watch The Boys.
Now I watch The Boys. Oh God, yeah.
And you get aroused.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, like here's the thing. Everyone was all the big heavy players for the X-Men team. They weren't really around during that time. It was just Wolverine, and when Wolverine's trying to protect a bunch of kids, he's gonna do the most Wolverine thing he could do, which is all out war, my way, and my way.
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna come out on top.
Well, you could even say it could be a callback to even later on with Logan.
Sure,
it's almost exactly the same sentiment of he will do anything in order to protect the future generations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look at this guy's power. Mm-hmm. They're knives in his hands.
Oh, yeah.
That's his power.
If he's gonna make use of it, he's gonna make use of it.
This man's either gonna be a chef at Nobu or a murderer on Mascal. I mean, it's gotta be one of the two.
Sushi man.
Sushi man.
I mean, hell, he literally gave a beer bottle to Iceman and said, "Hey, freeze it up, and then I'm gonna drink it."
Well, here's
It wasn't beer; it was cola.
Oh yeah, it was cola.
You're very much Iceman right now. If this dude, if Justin got the claws right now, you'd have to back him up with some ice.
Got you. I got you.
Hey, thanks.
I'm pyro. I'm edgy.
I'm pyro. Dude. I love that pair up also. Pyro and Iceman in this film. That butting heads friendship is really good in this film.
And it works well within finding out that he then later joins on with Magneto. And can I talk about that scene real quick with the kid? That's my favorite scene in this whole movie.
Which one?
With them going back to Rogue with her family and stuff, or
Iceman. Iceman.
Going back to Iceman's family, and then him being like, "Yeah, this is my power. This is who I am," and his mom and dad almost kind of like being very hesitant to accept it and stuff, and that's very like real with anyone trying to kind of convince their parents about who they are and their reality, and then his brother. I won't say. I mean, a dickhead, but definitely
Brian calling the feds on his brother.
But he's younger, so that in that instance, how I viewed it was definitely that he is indoctrinated to the max because they've been pushing such a narrative that mutants are the enemy to humanity. He listens to Infowars, and that proves itself to Magneto's whole claim that even while some of the older generation might be hesitant. Some may disagree and some may agree. There is such indoctrination within nowadays that even the younger generation, no matter what, even if it's against their parents, they're willing to go be a mark for their own family members.
So you think Magneto was right? It's an honest question.
All right, here, honest question. All right, you ready for this? I think Magneto is half wrong and half right. In the 50, sense of 50-50. Because he's right. I mean, he's right in his message, but he's wrong in his practice. Because his practice is that he wants the power. Yeah. He's not going to share that power, and he doesn't want the power to mutants. He wants to control all mutants. Mm-hmm. He's just using it. Like I said, he's a good dictator because he follows the rules of all dictators. I'm going to use good choice words to get the populace and the masses to listen to me, and once I get the power, fuck you.
What do you think, Justin?
To tell you the truth, here's the thing. Magneto, he knows a lot about oppression. Literally,
he's lived it.
Yeah, he's lived it, dude.
Yeah.
Imagine someone like, I don't believe that, Magneto.
it goes really well with what he's expressed to people throughout the entire X-Men mythos. Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I before I even knew I was a mutant, I was a Jew. And what did they do to Jews during my time as a child? We were oppressed. We were herded into camps. And they ended up killing all of us. Why? Because they believed in some religion that we didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when mutants started to become a thing, the same thing happened again, but on a more, uglier scale. Okay. Yeah. You started experimenting on us. You started making weapons to kill us. You started making gear to oppress our powers because you are afraid of us. Here's the thing. Magneto is more of an interesting villain because you can sympathize with him.
Yeah.
These are the qualities that make him like an understandable villain in a way.
Yeah.
And sometimes you start to question yourself, like, is he even a villain?
Yeah. And that's the thing. They really wrote his character excellent because without that, you would be like, I don't like him.
Yeah.
But because you understand from him coming from one of, if not the most destructive and most inhumane 21st century crimes ever committed to mankind, you can have a bit of a sympathy, be like, well, he is a victim, and he just a victim that's lost.
Well, what I love about that in this film is that he is victimized by, obviously the government. When he's a prisoner and everything, he's being treated like shit and everything. He's in a plastic box, and then you see them team up. The Brotherhood and the X-Men team up to take on Weapon X, right? Take on Stryker and everything. They infiltrate the base and everything, and
X-Force right there.
They show what he's willing to do because he's willing to commit a genocide all on his own because of the pain that he was caused during World War II. And you see, like, I love that moment where it's like he goes into this fake Cerebro that Xavier's trapped in, and then he reroutes the panels. It's like, no, this ain't mutants anymore. It's humans that are getting this, right? This attack, you know. And it just shows that even though we love this character, I love this character, I love Ian McKellen as it. Yeah. When he's ready to become that bad guy, he's gonna do it.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I love that.
Here's the thing. Another thing too about this is that there are no bad sides into this kind of thing. Because here's the thing: while we do see the good and bad of mutants, unfortunately, we also see the good and bad of mankind too. Just look at what Stryker was doing. Literally experimenting
on his own son.
On his own son, on mutants. Like, dude was literally breaking human rights violations left and right. And then he just said,
"You can't break human rights if you're not a human."
Yeah, see. That's
you're
mutant. That's literally the message that he was saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
And that comes out of
I'm experimenting on you people.
Yeah.
And that comes out of the fear of not knowing the other and stuff like that, which is kind of an interesting callback to back of Magneto's past.
Yeah,
you know, because in reality, the Nazis did the same thing with Jews and with anyone that they were afraid of. They did human testing on them to try to understand who they were and what made them. How were they different from us? So it's a cool, like, if you know a little bit more about that stuff, it's like, oh, that's evil, and that's cool. That how evil they'll.
Well, they implement real life context, real life history into these, which makes it more compelling.
Exactly.
Which is why I want to get back to that scene you were talking about with Iceman's parents.
Oh yeah.
Which is obviously an equivalent to it's representing coming out. You know, they talked to Ian McKellen on the set. He was their advisor because he is gay, and he said this is how the scene has to play out. You know, this is how it's going to hit people for real, you know, because the X-Men have always been an allegory for people who are other races, who are disenfranchised, especially, you know, gay people, black people, Mexicans. Like, it appeals to minorities because just of the very concept. And that scene, it is very...
X-Men.
X-Force.
X-Force.
Mom, I'm an X-Man.
Well, I love that. I love that scene just because it is very, for a lot of gay people, it must have been so real for them.
It's actually impactful.
It is impactful. You know, I love like the line. Have you ever thought of not being a mutant? I mean, you know, that's very real for some people out there.
It is very real, but it also goes to show, like, sometimes you just can't. You can't ask that question towards people.
It's a ridiculous question.
Because it hurts
Julius,
that person.
have you ever thought not being gay?
Not being a podcaster?
Not being a podcaster?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, you ever tried not having long hair?
Yes.
It keeps going back.
It keeps coming back.
That's my mutant power.
What do I do? Yeah, well, this movie for a long time was considered, especially in the early 2000s when it came out, and, you know, up until things like the MCU emerged, it was considered one of the best comic book films of all time. And this franchise in itself has expanded. There have been a lot more films that have come from it, a lot of great films that have come from it ever since X2. So do you guys think this is still And you got to think about a whole bunch of movies that have come out since, like a whole bunch of comic book movies. Do you think this is still one of the greatest comic book films of all time?
To tell you the truth, I think it pass exceeds that. Like, it's a pop culture icon.
Mm-hmm.
Because to tell you the truth, that's the one film that really like did it all. Like, got people's attention. Like the X-Men. This is the closest thing that we're gonna get where it reflects off of our reality.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Brian?
I agree too.
Yeah.
Because while I love the MCU, I mean, I hate the choices that they're doing with like the new shit. Like, oh my god! But just the difference between what was considered now and what was considered then, we have to take into the practice of what they were going in with effects, what they were going with their budget, what they were going with and at the time. And you still gotta think about this. Growing up as a kid, like, besides for Transformers, that was, like, the only mainstream shit that everyone in the neighborhood was like, oh, that shit's awesome. Everything else, everyone was like, yo, you're kind of fucking gay, or, like, who would watch X-Men, you know, besides from, like, some kid who liked comic books. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely cool to see how it still stands up today compared to other projects, like, that are so amazing. I mean, I'll love Endgame, and I'll love Infinity War to death. I think that might be the pinnacle to a lot of superhero films. But for a movie, I think X-Men might exceed that.
X-Men 2.
X-Men 2, because it's not just a superhero film, it is a film.
Sure.
You know, it follows a lot
sure.
of, yeah, it feels a lot of, like, a lot of shit. It's just like the Tobey Maguire films, even just like the first Iron Man and the second Iron Man. It is a good director, it is a good cast, and it is something that it's trying to do overall with the story, and the superheroes are just the icing on the cake.
That's a great point.
Basically turning your characters human.
So, for me, because of everything you guys said, this is definitely an honorable mention in that conversation of the greatest comic book films out there.
Oh, yeah.
Not even just like with the MCU or what DC, but within this own franchise, I think better films have come out since. Especially Logan. Like, watching Logan recently, I mean, it's incredible. It's amazing. It's an incredible film. So I think that's probably the best this series has put out. But X-Men 2, it held that title for a reason. Yeah. You know? There are some things that kind of bothered me, like how Cyclops is kind of absent from the film and everything. Yeah, you can, okay, for sure. If you want to take over the couch, because look at Miles here. Miles is about to knock out Iceman.
Miles needs some chicken. Right, Miles? You want some chicken?
A little later.
All right,
a little later. So X-Men 2, it held that title for a long time. I love it. Movie's great.
Yeah.
I just wish Cyclops got justice.
No, and that's the thing.
and that's a bitch.
And that's the issue. Like, and that's the thing. As a kid, like, I always thought fucking Wolverine was the leader. You know? Because they really paid.
Sure, because he was in these films.
Yeah, but in the books, it's so different. And then it's like, oh wow, they really fucked over like who is representing the X-Men.
The guy.
And honestly, I think it works, and a lot of times it doesn't work. I think it would only work if you really, like, I think X-Men would only work in that pattern of following leadership and understanding with the comic books if it was part of the MCU. But because it's not part of the MCU, I think it kind of does work following just Wolverine. But they should have at least called it Wolverine.
Well, the thing is that these movies, I mentioned this in the other discussion I did about the X-Men, these movies have to be impossible to make. The amount of characters that there are that are rich, that we all know from the books and the shows and everything.
It's so hard to choose, like, who.
Yeah, like, you have no choice but to do something like, you have focusing on Wolverine because he is a really interesting character and everything. But I don't think that the people making these films didn't get that Cyclops was cool, but I think a lot of them didn't care much. And they chose to, because Hugh Jackman was a name. Instantly when he was in the first film, like, he's iconic.
Like,
everyone
great
wants
actor.
him.
He was really big in theater around that point in time.
And let's be honest, he's great in the role.
Oh no, extremely great role. I mean,
sick
to this day, everyone is like, when you think of Wolverine, you think Hugh Jackman.
And
everyone else is kind of like, you could either, like, Rogue, Southern or Goth, you know, like.
but we know that Cyclops is such a great character, which is why I think, well, first of all, I'm really happy X-Men 97 came out to show that, because dude,
Yeah.
he is
I haven't
the
seen
OG.
it yet
in
'cause,
that.
like
I'm
you
not
said,
gonna
I
say,
wanna
but
do-
they
but I've
they
been seeing all the
legitimize
shit,
him,
and it looks really good.
yeah, they
you
bring
know?
they bring
Put
his
some respect
they put
on
some
Scott motherfucking
respect
Summers.
on him, dude. He is the OG. He is the team leader. So when they bring him in the MCU, whichever, I don't know how they're gonna do the X-Men in MCU, but he's got to be the Cap.
The war has begun. Eric, what have you done?
Let's move on.